Good evening. The story made headlines across the country. Two boys, ages 15 and 12, shot and killed a man in Kosciuszko County and were charged as adults. 4 years later, Colt Lundy, the older of the two, is now serving his prison sentence at the Wabash Valley Correctional Facility near Terre Haute. For the first time, he is talking to an Indiana television station. News Channel 15's Alyssa Ivinson sat down with Lundy in prison, where he shared never-before-heard details about the day he went from kid to killer.
From the day of the homicide in Cromwell in 2010, through the legal process, and now to prison, I've covered Colt Lundy's story for years. For several hours, Lundy showed us what his life is like in prison. He opened up about his crime and how he's trying to turn his life around. It looks like a quiet neighborhood off of Lake Wawasee. Police found 49-year-old Philip Danner dead in his home Wednesday morning.
You see them where accidental shootings happened at that age, but nothing at this magnitude.
My heart goes out to them. However, the crime has been charged as such.
Faced those murder charges in adult court. Pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder. 30 years behind bars. The last 5 of that sentence will be served as probation.
It never even occurred to me that I could be sent to prison.
Do you remember firing the shots?
Yeah.
Behind the heavy metal doors of the Wabash Valley Correctional Facility, in a cell not much larger than a closet, is 19-year-old Colt Lundy.
Most of my stuff is in these 2 boxes right here.
He's been incarcerated for 4 years. He lives with the adult population now, but started on the juvenile side. He came to prison when he was 15.
It was pretty scary. I just stayed out of the way and didn't really talk to a whole lot of people.
April 20th, 2010, Lundy went from kid to killer when he and another boy, 12-year-old Paul Gingrich, shot his stepfather.
It's just with me all the time. And even when I get out, you know, it's going to be with me.
Lundy says he had a pretty normal childhood growing up in Kosciuszko County.
My mom and dad, you know, being split the whole time, that was always a factor.
Philip Danner came into his life when he was 5 or 6 and eventually became his stepdad.
I didn't understand, you know, the permanency of him in my life at that point. When I was younger, you know, it was good, I'd say. And then as I just got older, you know, it just got worse.
Lundy says Danner would drink and get violent. He confronted his mom about it.
And I said, you know, either he leaves or I leave.
Lundy dreamed of going to California, even ran away from home once, but he doesn't remember how it was decided that he needed to kill Danner.
We were discussing our plans to, you know, to leave. Like I tell everybody else, I mean, I can't remember who brought it up. And I think at first, you know, they really didn't mean it literally, but then for some reason we started talking about it like it could actually, you know, happen. And next thing I knew, you know, we were walking down the street towards my house.
What happened next?
Paul, you know, came in through my window. We got the guns and we went to the living room and waited. The whole time, you know, we were, you know, second guessing, you know, saying like, can we really do this, you know? And then in the midst of one of those moments, you know, we heard him coming, and then it was like, well, it's too late, you know, we can't turn back. I remember, you know, shooting once he came, you know, through the doorway, and then Paul shot, and then I shot, and then Paul shot, and that was it.
After that happened, what did you think? What went through you?
Yeah, I just remember sitting there, and you know, my ears were ringing. I couldn't hear anything. You know, you could smell, you know, the gunpowder. And I just remember sitting there and just looking. And then I looked at Paul, and he was looking at me. And I got up and looked out the window, and my neighbors, there was like 8 people across the street, they were all looking at the house. And then at that point, what went through my mind was, first, are they gonna call the cops? And then second was, well, if they do, well, I can either call an ambulance, right now. I can, run like I had planned, or I can kill myself. Those were my 3 options that I was, really thinking about. What I think drew me out of that was Paul. He said, I think he said something like, what do we do now? And then I said, well, we gotta get out of here, because I didn't have the balls to kill myself. I looked at Phil and I knew that he was gone. So there's no point in calling an ambulance.
Lundy, Gingrich, and 12-year-old Chase Williams, who was a lookout outside the house, set a time to meet back at Lundy's house. The plan now to drive to Arizona.
We realized that we had told people that we were going to California. So we said, well, we can't go to California now because people are gonna, talk and they'll find out.
They didn't make it far. The boys caught at a Walmart in Illinois.
I thought my mom, would come pick me up and it'd be back to me and her. I really didn't think of, this place. That never crossed my mind.
In the 15-year-old mind, at what point do you think you realized that prison could be in your future?
Never. Just didn't even think it was an option.
Do you ever go back and wish you could redo that day?
Yeah, I do. I think I would. I wish I could take it back because of all the, the pain and the grief it caused, so many people. But, it's on the other hand, I wouldn't be who I am today, without that experience. I own it. It doesn't define me. People can remember me for that if they would like, but once they see who I am now, they're gonna forget all about that.
Tomorrow night, more from my interview with Lundy. He shows us his prison routine and job, and he explains why his future looks better because he went to prison. That's when From Kid to Killer continues tomorrow at 6. Alyssa Ivinson, News Channel 15. Good evening, I'm Alyssa Ivinson. Mark and Heather are off tonight. He went to prison when he was 15 years old. Colt Lundy admitted to shooting and killing his stepfather in 2010. Now, 4 years later, I was granted rare access to his life in prison as he's trying to turn his life around after he went from kid to killer.
What do you think about when you're out strolling like this?
Think about freedom's only 300 yards that way. It's that close, but yet it's so far away.
Is that tough?
Yeah, it is.
Cell blocks and razor wire. Colt Lundy's life. The 19-year-old is 4 years into his 25-year sentence. He was 15 years old in 2010 when he shot and killed his stepfather, Philip Danner, in Kosciuszko County. Lundy was charged as an adult, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder. Because of his age, he was first sent to the juvenile side of the Wabash Valley Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison near Terre Haute.
Tried to stay out of trouble on the juvenile wing, which is a full-time job. The kids over there, most of them think they have, something to prove.
Lundy worked hard and earned his GED. When he turned 18, he moved across the complex to the adult side, where he got into the Purposeful Living Unit's SERVE program. Plus is a faith and character-based housing unit. There are group meetings.
Really thought-provoking questions, and it's intended to, make you actually examine your thinking and find, thinking errors and communicate better.
And community service projects. Lundy's unit makes quilts for homeless shelters and veterans.
Hand stitch it to close the gap.
He also has a job.
Most mornings are pretty quiet.
Working the desk in the library.
It just puts me in an environment where I'm constantly around, books and things that will help me, learn, and it also, professional, because, it's just like a regular job. I could get, fired or whatever if I was not. And although people are rude, and I have to remain, calm and respectful, and so it's helpful to me.
One of Colt's new passions is exercise. When he gets out of prison, he hopes to go to California to compete in a CrossFit competition. Out here in the yard, he says he can turn pretty much anywhere into his gym.
Do box jumps on that, run around the grass. See that yellow pole over there? That's where I practice flags. You grab the pole and then you hold yourself out horizontal.
Lundy also discovered poetry, a way to escape and let his emotions out.
Floodgates in your mind implode, letting your undulating sea of emotions flow.
Working on an associate's degree in business management.
This is actually one of my college courses right here. Public speaking.
Holding a job, writing, working out. It's almost easy to forget Lundy's in prison. Then afternoon lockdown. A jolt back to reality.
How do you think that will affect you in the rest of your life, having done a lot of growing up in a prison?
Prison is definitely not a good influence on such a young person. And I've learned and experienced and seen a lot of things that, haven't been good for me. But at the same time, it's made me, who I am today, and that's better than I ever would have been, if I would have continued what I was doing when I was out.
Where do you think you would be now if you said continuing out on the path you were going on before? Do you think you'd still be in jail or prison for something else?
Probably wouldn't be in prison, I don't think. I don't know. I'd probably just still be living at home, have some dead-end job. Probably wouldn't have gone to college, which I am now, and lived a much sadder life.
Was prison a good thing for you?
Yeah.
Explain that.
Everything is broken down here into its simplest form. And once you see that and experience that, it really opens your eyes. And I've learned a lot of good things, from being here.
The reason Lundy is locked behind bars never leaves him. He thinks about the moment he went from kid to killer every day, but he doesn't want to be defined by the crime.
I took a lot away from a lot of people with what I did. I feel like I'm obligated to give back. I feel like I'm obligated to try to help people, to try to make myself and others better. And that's what I do.
Around 37% of people who get out of prison become repeat offenders. That drops to single digits for PLUS graduates. And Lundy is determined to never come back once he gets out.
I just can't believe why you would do that. This place just is horrible, but there are a few people that make this into a good thing.
Which is what you're trying to do.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Lundy's earliest possible release date is in May 2022, according to the Department of Corrections. That would make him 27 years old. But he could get more time cuts for completing the PLUS program. My interview with Lundy was nearly an hour. Be sure to join me for Nightcast on Saturday to hear more, including what he wants to say to Phil's family and to his mother. That's Saturday night at 11.
I took a lot away from a lot of people with what I did. I feel like I'm obligated to give back. I feel like I'm obligated to that try to help people, to try to make myself and others better.
Now on Nightcast, in a rare prison interview, Colt Lundy opens up about growing up behind bars. Good evening, I'm Alyssa Ivinson. This week, we've been hearing from Lundy in my special report, From Kid to Killer. Lundy shot and killed his stepfather, Philip Danner, in 2010. He was 15 years old at the time. Now he's 19 and 4 years into his 25-year prison sentence. Tonight, we have more of my interview with him as he shares what he'd like to say to Phil's family and to his mother.
Who was the Colt Lundy who came into prison at age 15, and who is the Colt Lundy sitting here today?
Colt Lundy came into prison was a lost child, and Colt Lundy was nothing but a title, you know, a label to put on me, you know, just a body. But now, you know, Colt Lundy is not just a body, you know, that's taking up space and wasting air. You know, I'm using what has happened to me in my experience and trying to, you know, help other people. And I'm trying my best to be, you know, useful.
Do you still talk to your mom? Do you have a relationship with your mom?
Yes.
What's that like?
It's been a rough, you know, 4 years, but it's getting better.
What would you say to Phil's family now, to your mom now?
I mean, obviously, I'm sorry, you know. I think that's obvious. Yeah, I just hope they don't let what I did, you know, harden their hearts. And, you know, not to me, you know, I expect that, but to others. Because what I did, you know, don't let what I did affect, you know, how you look at and treat others. And I think that's the most important thing, because I can accept that they're not happy with me. But yeah, just you can't let my actions, you know, affect how you look at other people. I don't know if they do that or not, but that's what I would want them to know, and that I hope they have, you know, moved on as best as they can, and, you know, I'm sorry.
What's the biggest thing that you would want the public to know about you?
Not so much me, but about, you know, people in general in my position, that, you know, we're not all monsters here. Yeah, the guys are in here for some really, you know, really messed up things. But there's a lot of guys in here that are actually surprisingly good guys, and that just messed up. We're still people, and we're capable of becoming better and repenting for the things that we have done, you know, that were wrong. But, you know, some of us just messed up, you know.
What are your goals now?
But while I'm in prison, I want to get my associate's degree, which I'm working on right now. I should have that done in about 1.5 years. And then once I get out, just, you know, live life and enjoy everything, you know, take nothing for granted, and experience everything, you know, fresh. Everything's going to be completely different through new eyes. You know, just enjoy freedom.
My interview with Lundy was nearly an hour. You can watch parts 1 and 2 of From Kid to Killer and my entire interview with Lundy right now on Wayne.com. You can also see a timeline of the crime and prosecution of Lundy and the 2 other boys who were involved.